colleagues and listeners, here we are, and it's a little bit overdue, but we're still here. We're still active, but not as regular as we used to be. And I can say that as an older gentleman. But anyhow, Stephen, it's lovely to see you again. And both of us are on international travels, so that's also good. And now, something got to talk about, mate, because it's something that everybody's seeing. Look at the amount of flights that are being cancelled. Look at the amount of disruption. Look at the amount of dissatisfaction. And now more fear, more bad news at a time when, in all honesty, everything should be going boom, 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 bish, bash, bosh, whatever you want to say. And everybody should be saying, this is great. We're getting back. We're doing this. We're doing that. And it's the opposite now. And people are being turned off again, which is such a shame.
Well, I think to add to the dissatisfaction, Chris, there's a huge amount of disappointment and ultimately devastation, both amongst the the airline community themselves, but also amongst the passengers whose goodwill we had to rely on for a long time, during excessive restrictions and controls and paperwork and admin and bureaucracy. We thought we'd sort of unshackled ourselves from most of that now, which is a great thing, and that we were very supportive of that. The industry was calling out for that, if you remember, Chris. I mean, for the last 12 months at least, there was a degree of cooperation that we hadn't seen before between airports and airlines around getting the messaging into central government, for example, to try to drive some of those changes and loosen some of those restrictions. Now that they have succeeded in loosening all of those restrictions almost exclusively. I mean, there's still some in some parts of the world. I still have this blasted thing to wear on my next flight, although I didn't wear it on my last flight, and I won't be wearing it on my next flight because the mask mandate in the United States has been withdrawn and challenged in court, which is fabulous. You wear your mask if you want to. So having succeeded in creating I guess a very strong platform for a resurgency, Chris, and a rebound. We've now fallen foul of an issue that has been well known about, spoken about, which was readiness. Industry readiness, operational readiness, business readiness to kind of deal with this spike. So whilst I think a lot of planning and good work went into that, it's very clear that the capacity has been restored and the demand has come much quicker than the resources has been able to allow.
Yep, and this principle of tap on, tap off, it just did not work in this instance, and it's really been disappointing. But I think it also shows as well, Steve, that our industry for too long, and I think it's only 2016, 2017, 2016 there was no reason for things to have gone bad, and then 2017 was one of the best years we ever had, again for no reason. And now we've got so many reasons as to what things were going wrong. But people, it seems to be whenever we forget or whenever we get over, we always then start focusing on best case scenarios. Grow. We want more, instead of being aware of worst case scenarios and making sure that we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
And then a lot stronger foundation for whatever happens so that you're not affected by that fulcrum or that balance going up or down. But,
well, I think we had the two extremes.
Yeah, but sorry, I'll let you come back to it. But Steve, I've had people now, right, coming in and fair play to them. They said, you and old, and obviously people know you as well. You and old Stevie boy, your words of wisdom and you're giving us all the chat and everything. What are you guys actually doing? So I think we've enough to talk about what we are doing now, Steve, and equally, without keeping things in drawers or not being open about it. But we're doing an awful lot. And if people want to get in touch, we can steer them in a certain direction, not just talking about it. There are things people can do now with these challenges ahead of them that make an awful lot of sense, are logic, they're common sense, which unfortunately isn't common, but they're also good for the people who are now being expected to come in with very little training, very little support, and they're expected to fly. Sorry to use that word, but
pardon the pun.
They're expected to fly as soon as they actually put feet on ground, which isn't going to happen.
Well, a couple of things. So the two extremes I'm going to talk about, Chris, was airlines were the industry, not just airlines, but the industry was hoping for the best when it comes to capacity restoration based on a demand profile, building exponentially, which it did. They got that result. However, to the exclusion of what would normally be solid, robust contingency planning or business continuity planning, if you like, to the error of the best judgment, they ended up screwing up entirely, most of the resourcing activity. And really, anything when there's any government link to anything, and this is not a criticism, this is just a fact.
It's just
when there's any link to government or the public sector for anything, so in this case it's screening and counter-terrorism checks. If the government say it would take 6 weeks, multiply that by at least 4. So we should have been planning for now people say, oh, that's unrealistic, we've got service levels, the government commit to it, sure, but let's not forget, Chris, that most of those lazy civil servants haven't come back to work. They all still want to work at home because they're afraid of their own shadows, or they're afraid of getting a sandwich and a coffee in Pret and catching COVID. So we've got a problem with a vastly understaffed civil service, a Department for Transport that's frankly not fit for purpose, run by a Secretary of State who, I don't know, did you see his sketch video the other day announcing the GB Rail getaway? I mean, what it was like Alan Partridge. I was watching. In fact, it was a Secretary of State for Her Majesty's government.
Yeah,
which I just thought was astounding.
How can people allow people to go on and I mean, it's crazy stuff.
Well, his advisors should all be sacked. Anyway,
it's madness.
The point is, Chris, we knew, you and I know now. I come from a very simpleton background, but as baggage handler, I've managed to establish that this problem has existed. You and I discussed it. If we were discussing it on this show, I know it that everybody else in the industry knew this would be a problem, knew that these issues would exist within government, knew that these pinch points and these funnels would be very narrow. So I don't want to say we to go back to the question of what is it that we are doing. Well, look, I'm also in the game of consulting, Chris, as you are. You're on assignment now, as am I, and so we are actively working with clients, but we sell our services. Let's make no mistake. This is a world of service sales, and so yes, we are very very happy to help and support our client base. And in fact, we've done a lot of that. As we've spoken about over the last 2 years, but we've had some pretty good successes. But I think what you get from Chris and I, if you do want to engage Skylight Aviation to support you and your business, is you get a very frank and candid view of the world, and a set of solutions that are both practical, implementable, and can be we would stand by with great conviction about the successes that they potentially bring to your business. More generally, Chris, I think we've got an industry responsibility. Let's call it our CSR mantra or responsibility, which is to help the overall industry. And if you remember the pro bono work that we're doing in the early days with Parliament and government and so on and so forth, and trying to drive someone's messages home, we never charged a penny for that work, and that was the right thing to do, because it's about elevating the whole of industry. But now I think there is a competitive advantage to getting back on your feet quicker than some of the others. You've seen some of the airlines in Europe, for example, Wizz Air are pottering around and flying quite happily. Ryanair are pottering around and flying quite happily. Why is that? Well, I guess they bit the bullet early on. There's some frank conversations internally that it was far better to carry excess labour throughout the pandemic, when of course a lot of it has been funded by the state or by the taxpayer in any case, than the likes of EasyJet or British Airways. Sorry, I'm not picking fault. I'm using two of the very public stories that have been up this week, who completely slashed and burned. And yes, I was a supporter of that before the kids out there say, oh, but Stephen, you were a supporter. Yes, I was, but I'm also a supporter of practical solutioning and frank, candid conversation, which is, if the cost of onboarding people early is only at a 10 or 20% premium from doing it later, then I'd also be advising you to do that when the business starts to recover. Exactly. I would not be saying, well, let's hang on, let's see what happens here, let's hedge our bet. also, I think a lot of these airline CEOs and COOs and CFOs have had their head in the sand, frankly, pretending this is not happening around them.
Yeah. And it's the fear of making a decision, but also something that we've spoken about on and off the show is, what you can do with the people that are going to be recruited and between the recruitment time and joining.
Yeah.
And that's solutions that we've both now implemented, and they're going very, very well.
Absolutely. I think that's right, Chris. The for those unaware, the Skylight Aviation Academy business, which focuses on learning and development for our industry, has now developed and taken to market a set of solutions that will ensure that we can close some of those learning gaps and actually make use of the time that we have got during things like waiting for clearances or waiting for onboarding or waiting for airport passes, etc. That if that time is not being used wisely and effectively by businesses, then they're not helping themselves, frankly. So, again, we can help plug those gaps.
And it also gives a better image to the people coming either back or in, that things have changed and that there's a lot more professionalism and a lot more competence-based emphasis on people's performance. Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Right. So listen, I know you're getting ready to catch a flight, and I'm in the middle of doing a session with a couple of colleagues, and I think they're quite pleased that I stepped out for this. But safe travels, my friend. Enjoy your mask. And we're getting a little bit of pressure now to be on more regular. So at least somebody's watching, and it's not just family members. And we need to keep as well.
It's not Evan, because Evan didn't even watch his own show.
Well, he's already introduced one. I'm waiting for him to actually appear as a guest soon.
Very good, Chris.
Yeah, but seriously, have a safe trip, mate, and we'll speak again hopefully next week.
Thanks a lot.
We might even be together next week.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah. Happy days. All right, mate. Take care of yourself.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Video. Bye-bye.